Hello everyone, my name is Saye and welcome to this episode on natural gardens, growing moss on wood. Now you may not be familiar, but natural gardens are ones that use a natural material like wood or stone or shells as the container. I like to work with wood and it gives a really nice feel to the garden. The supplies you're going to need is a piece of wood, some moss, plastic wrap, and a greenhouse. The process we're going to follow is you need to make sure your wood is completely saturated, so soak it for 2 days. Collect some moss from your garden and you'll be surprised you have some. Wrap it with plastic wrap and keep it for 3 weeks, and when you unwrap it you will have a nice surprise. So for this technique, you need a driftwood like this with really nice lines and areas for planting different plants, so enough to have some soil and roots and things like that. Now, what I've done is I've gone in and hollowed out certain areas to give more space for different plants, and so you can go in and drill that. And then I've soaked it in water for 2 days. So now it's completely ready to have the moss attached to it. Chances are you already have moss growing in your garden or the garden of somebody you know. While most people try to take it out, I find it and I treasure it. Whether it's in the grass, growing next to some rocks, or actually even on rocks. I love it. The best ones are actually the ones that grow in the cracks of the patio. I just use a knife and try to get the pieces out as whole as I can. Again, use a knife to pull out the ones on the rocks, and just my fingers for the ones that grow in between the grass. They all have different textures, but the next step is to clean them up, take out the debris, and put them on a sheet of paper towel and keep them really moist and a lot of humidity. They dry out very quickly, so you need to make sure they're wet all the time. And the last step is make sure you have a greenhouse before you start. So now we get to the good part, which is applying the moss. And for that we need plastic wrap. But because that roll is way too wide, I use just a miter saw and I cut a smaller roll off, and you'll see why. I start by placing the moss onto the soaked driftwood. But the thing I have to keep in mind is I have to work in manageable sections. And that means that work in sections where I can roll it out and cover it with the plastic wrap. And now you can see why that small roll is so convenient. I would have struggled with a larger roll. Wrap individual sections, continue adding moss to another section, and then wrap that one. Don't go over any of the other areas because you want to leave those exposed for the next one. But at one point your entire log will be all wrapped up like a little bit of a mummy. And at that point, put it in the greenhouse, pour in some water and make sure the vents are closed, and put it either in your light stand or kind of in a light source but not direct sunlight. It's been 2.5 weeks, 18 days since we wrapped up this driftwood with to try to attach the moss to it. I've been keeping a close eye and it looks like it's attached, but we won't know exactly until we unwrap it. I've been keeping it under the light stand in this covered greenhouse, and it's been sitting in water, so it has high humidity for the moss to grow. The downside to that has been that it's produced lots of little bugs, which would be a downside for a lot of people, but not for me because right next to it, I keep these pingiculas, which are carnivorous plants with sticky leaves that love to eat the flies, so more food for those guys. Let's go take a look and see how this is doing. I'll put the log on a Lazy Susan so I can spin it around and access it from all sides. I'll use really sharp scissors to gently cut off the plastic so I don't damage the moss. Wow, this looks awesome. I love the way how it's got this like different patches of moss growing, so over time it's going to look really amazing as it starts to fill in. Now it's going to be off to the expert hands of my friend to see how she plants it. This technique offers endless possibilities for natural garden entries in different shows. And to my delight, a week later, I saw this gorgeous entry by my friend. You can see it's planted with all the plants you would put in a woodland terrarium, so same conditions. And another possibility is to use this technique to cover small pieces of wood to resemble logs in a forest for your woodland terrarium. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it inspires you to make some natural gardens of your own. It took over a month to produce this episode, and just to give you a hint of a few other projects I have in the works is one of them is revamping this natural garden that I made about a year ago. So it's a work in process, and hope to have that to share with you soon. Another one is May the 4th themed dish garden. And if you don't know what that is, be tuned on May the 4th. The best way to get notifications is to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to click that little bell button on the side, because that will notify you when I have new videos posted. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Check my Facebook and Instagram for more information, as well as you can read all about this episode on my blog. Watch out for the new ones, and see you soon.